In the small town of Briarwood, there was a house at the edge of the forest that everyone avoided. The locals called it the Whispering House, because on quiet nights, faint whispers could be heard coming from within its walls. The house had been abandoned for decades, ever since the Caldwell family had mysteriously disappeared one stormy night, leaving everything behind. No one dared to go near it, not even during the day. One autumn evening, a group of 4 friends, Ethan, Mia, Lucas, and Emily, decided to explore the house. They had heard the stories but didn't believe in ghosts or curses. To them, it was just an old, run-down building. They wanted to prove to themselves and everyone else that the Whispering House was nothing more than a creepy old tale. As they approached the house, the air grew colder. The setting sun cast long shadows across the yard, making the tall, dry grass sway ominously. The house loomed over them, its windows dark and hollow like empty eye sockets. The front door was slightly ajar, creaking as it swung in the breeze. "Are we really doing this?" Mia asked, her voice wavering slightly. "Come on, don't tell me you're scared," Ethan teased, though he too felt a chill run down his spine. They stepped inside, their footsteps echoing through the empty hallway. The house was eerily quiet, save for the occasional creak of the floorboards. Dust coated every surface, and cobwebs hung like curtains from the ceiling. As they moved deeper into the house, the whispers began. Soft, almost inaudible, like a distant conversation carried by the wind. "Did you hear that?" Lucas whispered, his eyes darting around the room. "It's just the wind," Ethan replied, though he didn't sound convinced. They continued exploring, moving from room to room. Each one was more decayed than the last, with peeling wallpaper, broken furniture, and shattered windows. But the whispers grew louder, more distinct, until it felt like they were all around them. Emily, who had been silent for most of the time, suddenly froze. "Do you guys see that?" she asked, pointing to a corner of the room. They all turned to look and saw what she was pointing at. A shadow, darker than the others, seemed to be moving on its own. It slid across the floor and up the wall, whispering as it went. "Let's get out of here," Lucas said, panic rising in his voice. They turned to leave, but the door slammed shut on its own with a deafening bang. The whispers turned into a cacophony of voices, overlapping and growing louder until it felt like they were inside their heads. "Open the door!" Mia screamed, but no matter how hard they pulled, the door wouldn't budge. The shadows began to move, creeping across the walls and floor, surrounding them. They seemed to be closing in, their whispers now harsh and accusing. "You shouldn't have come here," the voices hissed in unison. Suddenly, the floor beneath them gave way, and they fell into darkness. They landed in a basement they hadn't known existed, surrounded by old, rotting furniture and broken toys. The walls were covered in strange symbols, and in the center of the room was a large, old-fashioned mirror. The reflection in the mirror wasn't their own. Instead, it showed a family, 2 parents and their 3 children, standing in the same room. Their faces were twisted in terror, their eyes wide with fear. And then, as if by some unseen force, they were dragged away, leaving only the reflection of the empty basement. "Let's go now!" Ethan shouted, but as they tried to find a way out, they realized that the basement was a maze of narrow corridors and locked doors. The whispers followed them wherever they went, growing louder and more insistent. Finally, they stumbled upon a small, hidden door at the far end of the basement. They pushed it open and found themselves in the forest behind the house. The whispers stopped abruptly, and for a moment, all was silent. But as they turned to look back at the house, they saw the shadows moving inside, watching them through the windows. The house stood there, silent and still, as if nothing had happened. Breathing heavily, the friends ran back to town, vowing never to speak of what they had seen. But the memory of the whispers and the shadows would haunt them for the rest of their lives. They learned that some places are better left alone, and that the past has a way of lingering, even in the darkest corners of the world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified about more terrifying tales. Like the video and share it with friends who love a good scare. See you in the next one.